You've asked this question, maybe in a quiet room at 2 a.m., maybe after a failure, maybe after a success that still felt empty. Who am I? And most of the world will send you to a therapist, a personality test, or your childhood wounds for an answer. But today, we're going somewhere older, deeper, more dangerous. We're going to what God says about you, because if there is a God who made you, then He is the only one qualified to tell you what you are. We are living in the most identity-confused era in human history. We are constantly told, define yourself, express yourself, be your authentic self. But nobody tells us where to look. We scroll, we compare, we perform. And somewhere underneath the filters and the roles we play, we don't actually know who we are. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard called this the sickness unto death, the despair of not knowing yourself, or worse, of building a self on the wrong foundation. And here's the philosophical problem. If you define yourself, you become your own creator, and creators are accountable to no one but themselves. That sounds like freedom, but it's actually a prison, because a self with no ground beneath it collapses. So, what does God say? Let's go to the source. Genesis 1, verse 27. So God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God, He created them. This is the first thing God ever says about you. Before your name, before your job, before your mistakes, you are made in the Imago Dei, the image of God. This is not a metaphor. This is a philosophical category. It means you carry the fingerprint of the divine. Reason, creativity, amoral consciousness, the ability to love. These aren't accidents of evolution. They are echoes of God in human form. Psalm 139 verse 14 says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. The Hebrew word here, yar, means to be in holy awe. God was in awe of what He made when He made you. You were not a cosmic accident. You were a deliberate act. Jeremiah 1 verse 5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. This is God speaking to Jeremiah, but theologically, this principle applies to all of humanity. You existed in the mind of God before you existed in time. Let that land. Your identity does not begin at birth. It begins in eternity. In Isaiah 43 verse 1, the Lord said, Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. God names you. And in ancient Near Eastern thought, to name something is to define its essence. God doesn't just know your name. He speaks your identity into being. But if this is true, why don't we feel it? Why do so many people wake up every morning uncertain of their worth, their purpose, their place? Because of what theologians call the fall. In Genesis 3, the serpent asks Eve, Did God really say? And that question is still being whispered today. Did God really say you're made in His image? Did God really say you're known? Did God really say you're loved? The fall wasn't just a moral failure. It was an identity rupture. It was the moment humanity started looking to itself for the answers that only God can give. We became what the Apostle Paul describes in Romans 1, people who exchange the truth of God for a lie. And that lie is believing our identity is self-constructed rather than God-given. So, what does it mean to become who you really are? It means returning, not reinventing. 2 Corinthians 5, verse 17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here. This is not about becoming someone unrecognizable. This is about becoming more yourself than you've ever been. The philosopher C.S. Lewis put it beautifully, and I'm paraphrasing. He said that the more we allow Christ to take over, the more truly human we become, because we were made for Him. To resist that is to live like a key that refuses to fit its lock. Ephesians 2 verse 10 says, For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. The word handiwork in Greek is poiema, the root of our word poem. You are God's poem, God's masterpiece, not mass-produced, handwritten. And your life, your choices, your gifts, your suffering, your redemption, is a stanza in a story only God can write. Romans 8 verse 16 and 17 says the Spirit Himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children. Now, if we are children, then we are heirs, heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ. This is the final answer to, who am I? You are a child of God, not a product of your trauma, not the sum of your failures, not your career, your appearance, or your reputation. A child, an heir, known, named, loved. The world will give you 1,000 identities. Most of them will be beautiful lies. But if you want to know who you really are, stop looking in the mirror and start looking at the one who made the mirror. Because the moment you accept what God says about you, something changes. You stop shrinking. You stop performing. You stop being afraid of who you are. You become who you were always meant to be. John 1 verse 12, "Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God." The right to become, not to earn it, not to manufacture it, just to receive it. That's the philosophy of God. And that's the answer to the question on your screen right now. Who are you? You are his